guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to film a video about something personal. It's about my pregnancy story. By now most of you know that I had a baby about 6 months ago. If you hear him talking in the background, it's just because he's in the other room. But I had a baby, and today I wanted to share my pregnancy story. I want to share my story because my pregnancy wasn't the easiest, and if sharing my story can help anyone else that's going through what I went through, I think that it'd be worth it. Also, I wanted to share my story just to document this time. Me being a new mom is such a special time in my life, and I want to start documenting it. So I'm coming back to YouTube to document my life and my son's life, and hopefully you guys will stick around for the journey. So without any further ado, I'm just going to get into my story. So around December of 2018, I was doing my normal thing, no signs of being pregnant, and I noticed though that I hadn't gotten my period. So I had my period in November, everything was fine. When December came, I didn't really get my period. Now I get my period at the end of the month, so I wasn't concerned throughout the entire month. Just towards the end I was like, okay, where's my friend? And he wasn't showing his face. It got into the new year, went to Christmas, the new year, and I was just like, it's really odd that I have not gotten my period. So I was, a little bit in denial, just waiting it out, because I have been known to have irregular periods. So I was just like, maybe I'm a little bit stressed. Nothing that I could really be that stressed about, but I was like, maybe, it's just being irregular, and that's fine. So I waited about to the 16th of January, and I decided, I'm just going to rule this out. I'm just going to take the test. So I do currently live with my boyfriend. So I woke up early that morning and I took a pregnancy test. And, immediately one strong line came up and then one faint line. And I completely started, freaking out. My heart was beating out of my chest. I was, breathing weird. And I was like, oh my gosh, does this mean I'm pregnant? I really hadn't had a pregnancy scare before this, so I didn't really know. But I have heard that even if it's a faint line, it means you're pregnant. So my first thought was okay, I gotta tell my boyfriend, because, it's just me and him here. I currently live in Miami, and it's just me and him that live here. We don't have any family here. We have very few friends. So, I just wanted to tell him because I had no one else to tell. So I wake him up and I'm telling him, I think I'm pregnant. And his first words were, no, are you sure? You really can't. You can't be pregnant. And, it was a shock for him and me too, because I was taking contraceptives. So I was preventing it as well as I knew how. So I really didn't think it really could happen. But, the test was showing this little faint line. So I was just like, I don't know. So, the day went on. He ended up going to work, and I started work a little bit later in the day. So I went to the store and bought 3 more pregnancy tests. I took them all before I went to work, and they all said the same thing. One strong line and one faint line. So, I was freaking out. All through work, it was just, I couldn't focus. I was just really like, this can't be. It really can't be. It just can't. So he ended up texting me later on that day and was like, well, what'd you find out? And because I told him I was going to take more pregnancy tests just to, really be sure. And I told him, I think I'm pregnant. And he says, okay, we got this. We'll work it out. So during the day, while I was at work, in between my classes, because if you don't know, I am a dance teacher and I was teaching dance during this time. So in between classes, I decided to make an appointment with the doctor to just get a confirmation, a full, real confirmation that I was in fact pregnant. So that evening after work, I picked him up from work and we went to the doctor, and she confirmed it. I was pregnant. I was 6 weeks pregnant, and I could not believe it. I was like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, I really hadn't seen any signs other than my period not being there. So I was like really in shock. We were both in shock. So, after that, I kind of just proceeded to just do my normal routine. I didn't tell anyone. And I was freaking out a little bit. I knew that I needed to tell my mom and tell my family to really be okay with it. And that might sound weird, but it was just like a shock that I had to tell my mom. She was like my best friend, and me holding that in was killing me. So I ended up telling my mom, and she was really supportive of me. She told me that it was going to be fine, because I had expressed that I wasn't really ready for a baby. Don't get me wrong, my son is the absolute best thing in my life now, and I can't imagine my life without him at all. But at that time, I was not planning to have a baby, and it was just so far off. It was not in my plans at all. So I was freaking out, and she really brought me back down to earth and let me know that, it happens. It's okay. You'll be fine. It's going to be the biggest blessing in your life, and he really has been. My first trimester, it was pretty much a breeze. My first trimester was really easy. I was doing everything that I was doing prior to getting pregnant. I was still teaching dance classes, still cleaning, still cooking, still doing everything that I normally do. Except I was a lot more tired and I was a lot more hungry. Now, if you know me, you know that I generally don't eat a lot. Like, I'm a soup and salad type of girl. Like, doesn't really take a lot to fill me up. So I was eating all of my meals, and I wasn't eating light meals either. I was eating hearty, like hefty, really filling meals. So that was really funny for people to witness, because I am known for just being a light eater. That's just, I'm an athlete, so I eat soup and salad and I'm good to go, or a bowl of pasta and I'm good to go. So other than that, I was eating a lot more and I was a lot more tired. I wasn't really nauseous at all. I would get nauseous sometimes, very seldom, but I would never throw up. I had no morning sickness, and it was pretty much a breeze. I was just enjoying life. I wasn't showing at all during my first trimester. So my second trimester, that's when things got interesting. During my second trimester, I started to crave things. And the main thing that I was craving was pizza. Papa John's pizza. There was one near my job. I worked in Miami Beach, and there was a Papa John's in Miami Beach, and I would go and get a pizza all the time while I was at work or after work, and eat it before I even got home. I would eat it in the car, and it would just fill that void for me. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And I would eat that every single day. If I wasn't eating pizza, I would eat spaghetti. Anything with red sauce, I was addicted to, and that wasn't so far-fetched for me because I'm a pasta lover and I love a good red sauce anyways, but my desire for it tripled. I had to have red sauce. It was just all that I wanted to eat. So that was happening. Also during this trimester, I found out that I was having a boy. We had a gender reveal party. I'll insert some pictures. But we had a gender reveal party back at home. North Carolina is where I'm from. We went back and we had a gender reveal party, and it was so much fun to have all of our family there. I initially wanted a girl, I'm not gonna lie, but my baby boy is just the perfect addition to my life. He's perfect, and I'm so glad that he's a boy. God has a plan, and everything happens for a reason, and he knows exactly what you need. So I'm completely happy with my boy. I also noticed that during this trimester, I got an energy boost. So I felt more energized. I felt more like myself. I wasn't as tired. I was still hungry all the time, but I wasn't as tired. So I was able to, do more. And like I said, I still was working. I was still teaching classes. I was still being active, taking classes myself, and leaping across the floor, turning, doing whatever. I was still doing it all. So I had a little bit more energy though, so that was nice. But during my second trimester, my pregnancy did take a turn. During this pregnancy, I did find out, I was about 4 months pregnant when I found out. I found out that my baby was not weighing as much as a normal baby should weigh. So I had a high-risk pregnancy. They classified my pregnancy high risk. I needed to go see a high-risk doctor, and while there they told me that the baby is not really weighing as much as a baby should at his age at 4 months. So that definitely made my pregnancy feel a lot different. Before, I was happy generally after I came to terms with the fact that I am pregnant. And this was going to be my life. My pregnancy took a turn and kind of put a damper on it. I was still very excited to have a baby, but I was a lot more worried. So with a high-risk pregnancy, I had to go see a high-risk doctor, have a ultrasound of the baby twice a week. So I would go in on like Mondays and Thursdays or Mondays and Wednesdays. I could somewhat alter it, but it needed to be twice a week. And this was just so they could watch the baby and make sure he's getting enough fluid, make sure he has enough nutrition through the umbilical cord so that he could grow appropriately. And if there was an issue with his growth or if anything were to happen, that I would know right away and they would know right away because I was being seen twice a week. Whereas, if you just go to your OBGYN, you see them maybe once a month. So a lot can happen in those 30 days. So they wanted to see the baby twice a week. So I was going twice a week and I never missed an appointment. I was always there. During this trimester, because I have lupus, I never discussed this on YouTube, but I do have discoid lupus, which is autoimmune disease, and it causes inflammatory through the skin. So there are different types of lupus. You either have systematic, which affects your organs and your blood. I'm blessed to not have that kind. I do have discoid lupus, which just means you kind of get like a rash through your skin, but it doesn't affect my insides or if I'm tired or sick. I don't get any of those symptoms, which is just a blessing from God, and I'm very thankful. But regardless, I do have lupus, and they stated that I probably had a low birth weight baby due to that. With that being said, lupus also gives me the risk of getting a blood clot during the pregnancy journey. Normally I wouldn't because I don't have systematic lupus, but with me being pregnant, they still felt that I had a risk of getting a blood clot, and we all know that a blood clot can kill you instantly, and then it can kill the baby as well. So they put me on a blood thinner, so I needed to take injections into my stomach every day for the rest of my pregnancy. This started when I was 4 months pregnant, and this was just to thin my blood in order to make sure it doesn't clot and create a blood clot and travel to a major organ or my heart or anything like that. So I also was doing that. They also put me on baby aspirin to lower the chances of blood clots as well. So during the second trimester, it just got a lot more complicated. And I started to worry more, and that created stress. And I was trying to be, as stress-free as I could, because that's what they recommend during pregnancy. You don't want to stress yourself out, because then you're causing stress to the baby, and then, everything, well, not everything, but things can happen if you're, stressed out, or if the baby's stressed out. So yeah, it definitely was a trying trimester. But I got through it and I had to do what I had to do, and I was going to do everything I could to make sure that the baby was going to be healthy. If that was taking shots, if that was taking pills, if that was doing whatever, I was going to do it. So yes, my third trimester, I had my baby shower, which was so much fun. My mom and my sisters and my boyfriend's family, they all threw us a baby shower, and it was just beautiful. I will insert some pictures again just so you guys can see. But it was just such a fun time with all the family and the friends, and it was so cute. So we had a baby shower, and like I mentioned before, we live in Miami and we're from North Carolina, so we traveled back there for our baby shower again. And at this point, I did ask my doctor if it was okay if I traveled to my baby shower, and she told me that it was fine, but she definitely wanted me to either be seen while I was there by another high-risk doctor, or to be back in time for my regular weekly appointments in the following week. So I was made sure that I was back because I, had just been working with her, and I didn't really want to, explain to another doctor, and they don't know my history and blah, blah, blah. So I just made sure that I was back. So we went, had our baby shower, and I came back, and I think that weekend, right before, like, we got back maybe like Saturday, and then Sunday we went to have one last maternity photo shoot. I wanted to do a maternity shoot in the water, so we went in the water and we did the maternity shoot, and it was okay, but I'm kind of picky with my pictures, so I wanted to do I wanted to give it one more try, because the lighting was a little off. It wasn't the right time of day. I wanted to maybe go to a different beach. So we were going to redo it the next weekend. So when the following week came up, so that was on a Sunday when we did that. That Monday, I went to my high-risk appointment as I normally did. And they listened to the baby. They listened to his heartbeat. They checked the fluid through the umbilical cord. And when they did that, they noticed that he wasn't getting as much as he normally got. And they were concerned. They took, multiple takes. They kept listening. They kept trying it. They had me flip on my side. They had me flip on the other side. They had me cough. They had me do a lot of things. And nothing was changing. It still was irregular. So what they recommended was that I go straight to the hospital. So I was completely unprepared for this. I just thought I was going into the doctor. I didn't have my hospital bag. I had nobody with me. I hadn't really even had lunch or anything. Like, I feel like I had like a small breakfast because it was early in the morning and I was running out the door. So I just grabbed something and went. I wasn't prepared, but I went to the hospital, and they wanted the doctor to just evaluate me there and to see what they thought about it. So I went to the hospital, I went to registration, I checked in, and when I checked in, they told me that I wasn't going to be leaving. So I kind of was getting nervous, so I called my boyfriend, I let him know the situation. I'm at the hospital, they recommended that I come, and the doctor's going to evaluate me. So while he was traveling over, I was moved to the back room. I was moved to a room. So I was moved to a room, and they put the little seatbelt thing on me. The seatbelt thing that they can hear the baby through. You can hear the baby's heartbeat, and you can ultrasound through that. So they put that on me, and they said, okay, so what's probably going to happen, now we don't know because the doctor isn't here yet. He'll be in later to give you the final say so, but what we think is going to happen is that we'll probably keep you here on bed rest for about 2 weeks to monitor the baby, because mind you, this was when I was 7 months pregnant, so I still had a while before I really needed to give birth naturally. So they said, we're probably going to just keep you here for 2 weeks to watch and see how the baby does, if everything's fine, if the Doppler looks fine, if the flow through the umbilical cord is normal, we'll let you go home. And you can carry out your rest of your pregnancy until your water breaks and you go into labor naturally. So I was like, okay. but at that time I had to wait until the doctor came to really see if that was going to be the case. Now, mind you, I am starving at this point. I'm pregnant. I'm used to eating when I want to eat, and I hadn't eaten much that day. So, my boyfriend comes and he's listening, and we're, worried together, but, I still have a calmness about me, but because I think everything's going to be fine, but, we're just waiting to see the doctor. So we're waiting for a while. The nurse finally tells me that I can eat something. So I tell my boyfriend, could you please go get me something to eat from somewhere in a surrounding restaurant, fast food, whatever. Just, I need something to eat now. So he literally left the room for 5 minutes and the doctor came in. So I'm excited to see him, and he's like, okay. So I was looking at the ultrasounds that they took prior, and I think we need to have this baby today, relatively soon. It's not an emergency that you need to go in right now, but it's gonna happen, within an hour or so. And I was like, what? Like, I immediately just started crying. I was bawling because I had a lot of feelings about that. I knew that if the baby was born, then he was gonna be a premature baby. And when you have a premature baby, the baby can't go home with you right away. You can't just leave the hospital and take your baby with you. And, this baby has been inside of me for 7 months. I'm completely attached to this baby, and I don't want to leave the hospital without him. So I didn't want to have a premature baby. The second thing I was really upset about was that, I had to have a cesarean birth. Now, it doesn't seem like a big deal, and it really isn't in the big scope of things, but you have these ideas in your mind of what you want to happen for your birth. And I'm the type of person that, like, if I make something up in my mind, it normally goes that way because it just manifests itself into existence, because that's how I want it to go. So I was scared about that. I didn't really plan for a C-section. I didn't know how that was going to be and what it was really going to be. And I wanted to have the normal birth experience. I wanted to push my baby out. I wanted to feel that. And I was getting robbed of that opportunity as well. And also, I didn't have anyone with me. My family wasn't there, and I'm really, really close to my mom and sisters. And, I had been away from them throughout my entire pregnancy. Like, they don't live here in Miami with me. So I really wanted them to be there for that moment, and for them to miss it and to know that they were going to miss it. It was just sad. And, as a pregnant person, you're emotional anyway, so I just started bawling, and I was scared, and, it was a lot. So I immediately called my boyfriend, and I'm like, you have to come back, like, forget the food, because they said that I'm going to go into labor, or they're going to take the baby. I have to give birth relatively soon. So my boyfriend calls my mom, and my mom, it was just like literally the grace of God that she got there. My mom did not make it for the birth, but she was there as soon as I was done. Like, when they took me into my recovery room, she was there. And it was just, fate and God that she was able to get there, because there's literally one plane that was coming out to Miami that night, and she was going to get on that plane, but she was running behind because she hadn't planned on getting on that plane, and the plane was delayed. And because the plane was delayed, she was able to get there and come and be with me. So I went in to have the baby, and it was just me and my boyfriend, and we, they have the curtain up because you can't really look at them cutting you open and all that. He couldn't look, I couldn't look. So we're just, chatting back there like it's a normal thing. But before that, sorry, I skipped this part, but they numbed me up, and that was an experience of its own. Okay, sorry, my camera died. But where was I? Oh, the numbing. So they numbed me up, and they put this huge needle in your back. And they, tell you to be still, and it feels weird because you're getting like all jittery, and you feel, kind of crazy. But they numbed me up. They called my boyfriend in, and we had our baby. We didn't see any of it. The nurse in there was so kind enough to actually take pictures for us. So she took pictures and we have those memories. And, you know, when you have a premature baby, the baby has to go in a plastic bag afterwards. It's weird, it's different, but they prepped me for that. They said the baby, you know, it probably won't cry, and we have to put him in a plastic bag to keep him warm. Now, the reason that he probably wouldn't cry is because the baby's lungs were not fully developed. The baby's lungs don't develop fully until like towards the end of the pregnancy. And like I said, I had 2 more months of my pregnancy, so the baby was pretty much really early and underdeveloped. So, but when my baby came out, he cried. He was crying. He was crying so loud, and that was the sweetest sound that I have ever heard, I think. Just to hear him cry was just like the best feeling ever. And I knew that he was just, you know, really blessed by God. I knew he was a fighter at that moment because he was strong enough to cry. So he cried, they held him up, we saw him, you know, they put him in the bag, they rolled him up next to my head, like past the curtain next to my head, and I was able to look at him, and immediately he went to the NICU. So after that, I went into my recovery room. Like I said, my mother was there. It was so good to see her. It was so comforting to have her there with me. And I started my recovery process. You know, the nurses are coming in, they're asking you questions, they're giving you things for pain, whatever. And I kind of stayed on bed rest for the rest of that night. That next morning, I got up and I went to see my baby in the NICU. They put me in a wheelchair, they wheeled me in, and I was able to be with my baby. And, you know, from that moment on, you know, my life was completely changed for the better. Like, I immediately was so in love with him, and I knew that he was a fighter, and I knew that he was, you know, blessed by God, and I knew he was something special. And he lived his life in the NICU. So, like, the NICU journey is a whole different thing. When you have a baby in the NICU, you know, you have to be strong mentally because, you know you're going to be leaving the hospital without your baby, and you know that you're not in charge of the care of your baby. So you really have to trust the nurses, you have to trust the doctors, you have to trust that process of him growing in the incubator, and you have to make decisions, and you have to, you know, do your research on what you think is best for your baby, and all of those things I went through. And it was tough. It was really tough. But my baby was in the NICU for 43 days. And, you know, those were hard times. But at the same time, it made me so much stronger as a mom, as a person, as a woman, just mentally. It made me strong, and I am thankful for the strength, and I'm thankful to know that my baby is a fighter. And you know, on that 43rd day, I was able to take my baby home, and it was such a celebration. And you know, through that time, we had bonded so much with the nurses because I was there every single day. Every single day I went to see him, and I spent hours and hours and hours there just, you know, being with him because, you know, I wanted to hold him, I wanted to feed him, I wanted to just be his mom and be there, and I wanted him to know that I was there. So, you know, during that time I bonded with the nurses and the doctors. I mean, that doctor, we talked all the time. Like, I had her personal number, I called her any time of the night. Even if she wasn't there, she would get me answers. She would answer questions for me. And it was really special because, you know, they want you to feel comfortable. At this hospital, it was a really good hospital. I had my baby at South Miami Hospital, and that NICU, they told me, like, before I even gave birth, that people come from out of state to just have their baby here if they're going to have a premature baby, or just in case, because the NICU is that good. And I really felt that they were really good, and they really handled him with care, and they did everything that they could to help him progress as fast as he could, but didn't push it and didn't make rash decisions or just to like move him out or anything like that. So, you know, it was just a really positive experience, as positive as it could be. So yes, on the 43rd day, I took my baby home, and he's been home with me ever since. And you know, my life is just so much better for it. I love being a mom, and it wasn't the easiest journey to get to being a mom or to get to that happy feeling. And I just wanted to tell my story so that if you're going through this, if you have a baby that's in the NICU, if you have a high-risk pregnancy, I want you to know that you can get through it. And you're going through this maybe so you can help someone else. I mean, it's definitely for a reason. We don't always know the reasons, but if God can bring you to it, he can bring you through it, and just keep your faith in him. Stay strong in that, and I promise you, you will get through it, and you'll be stronger for it. So that is my pregnancy story, guys. I hope to do more story times like this of other experiences I have, if they can help anyone out there. That's what I want to do it for. And I also want to do more videos involving my baby and just my life now. Like, if you watched my previous video, you would know that I'm kind of over the whole makeup thing and beauty thing. I do the same exact makeup look when I put on makeup. I rarely put on makeup because I'm just in mom mode 24/7. I'm here with my baby, and we are, you know, going through life together, and that doesn't require makeup. So, you know, I don't always wear it 24/7, but so I've just gotten into a routine of what works for me, and I'm not really into like switching up the products. Like, I don't have time for that. So I'm moving away from that aspect of my life, and I'm just in mom life, and I love it, and that's what I'm going to be sharing here on my channel. So if you have any ideas or any like suggestions that I should do, or if there's anything you want to see, please leave them down in the comments below, and I will try my best to get those done for you. I'm not saying I'll never do makeup videos or never do beauty videos, because I definitely do want to do that, but that's not what's going to be my focus, because it's just not the focus of my life anymore. You know, I have a very important, different focus, and I hope you guys are down for the ride. So to conclude this video, I did want to introduce you guys to my son, so you guys can meet him, the light of my life, the love of my life. And from this point on, you'll be seeing a lot more of him. So let me get him. Stay right there. That's the baby boy. Say hi, everybody. Say hi. Say hi. Say my name is Blakey. Yes, say my name is Blake. Say my name is Blake. Blakey, say hi. So this is my bundle of joy. My little man. Baby shark do do do. Baby shark do 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 do. Baby shark do 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 do. Baby shark. Yay! I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you guys know when I upload a video. And like I said, in the comments, if you have anything you'd like to see from me and my little mans, go ahead and leave it down there, and we'll be sure to do those videos for you guys. And we'll see you in our next one. Bye.